Guess who is coming for a visit?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holton, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day, whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you're downloading your podcast. This show is always free, and this show always appreciates your support. We got a lot to talk about. This is going to be a recruiting show. We're going to talk about visits and who they need to get and all. And stick around for the third segment. Got some extra news for you. So when it comes, when the month of May is off and away and the official visitors come out to play, literally the end of May, that's when the official visits start for USC. During the spring transfer portal, the plan hasn't gone really according to plan. We can be honest about that. However, USC's high school recruiting plan is working just fine. You might remember back in March, USC hosted a crawfish boil, and Eric Henderson had his fingerprints all over everything. When a couple of Georgia defensive line players, a couple others, they ended up pledging to play for USC. However, ever since Willie Wasker, offensive lineman, committed to USC back on April 12th, it's kind of been quiet. Well, that's about to change. Again, in a few weeks, end of the month, USC has some official visitors coming. And then once May ends, it's pretty much every weekend in June, save for one. It's going to be visitor after visitor after visitor, and hopefully USC collecting these guys hand over fist, putting them into their number 3 ranked recruiting class, currently number 3 ranked. So again, Coach Riley, his staff, they're going to roll out the red carpets, and they're going to be hosting some of the best prospects, high school prospects, from all over the country. And again, what we're looking right here now is adding to I told you, they've got the number 3 ranked class nationally. The only 2 teams ahead of them, Ohio State and LSU. So once those June bashes begin, remember, we like to use the F word when it comes to recruits and their plans. So the F word stands for fluid. Get your mind out of the gutter. Because again, when it comes to, high school recruits, you like to call them kids. I like to call them young men. Their plans literally change depending on which day ends in Y. So I'm going to go over the guys who are coming. It's fluid. I'll update you if things change. But as of today, this is what's happening. So Coach Riley's staff, they've got 6 guys that are going to come for, I think, May 30th, May 31st. You've got Hilton Stubbs and Tristan Castro. Those 2 young men are already committed to USC. Hilton Drake Stubbs, the safety from Florida. Tristan Castro, local product from Southern California. Stubbs, he was part of that crawfish boil party. And Castro joined the Trojans party, I guess, about a week later. Now, there are 4 others that are going to be joining those 2 young men that weekend. You have CJ Wiley, wide receiver from Georgia. You have Donovan, make sure I pronounce this right. Olugbodi, Olugbodi, like David E. He's a wide receiver from IMG Academy. You have Chase Taylor, the linebacker from state of Georgia, Stockbridge, pardon me. Now, real interesting note on Chase Taylor. USC and both Michigan, they're going to keep an eye on these 2 schools. They're both going after him. The linebacker from Georgia, again, he's, I think Georgia's going after him as well. But I want to point out that USC and Michigan are actually kind of more favored for this young man right now. And then you also have to round out the group of 6, a 6'4" wide receiver from Lancaster, Texas. His name is Emmanuel Choice. When you're considered the number 10 ranked player overall in the country, then you get your own official visit day. He's doing this on June 2nd. That's a Sunday. Now, his name is Jonah Williams. He's a 5-star safety. He's considered the number 1 safety at his position, the number 3 player in the state of Texas, number 10 ranked nationally. 5-star from Galveston, Texas. USC's going up against Oklahoma, A&M, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, LSU, and of course USC. So I'll categorize those first 2, groupings. And again, Jonah Williams gets his own day, but we'll call those the preliminaries. Then all of a sudden, June 7th rolls around. That's the weekend bash of June 7th. That's highlighted by Juju Lewis. A lot of folks, they're concerned that Lewis is whether or not he's going to stick with his commitment to USC because he's taking official visits after he takes his trip to USC. My everydayers kind of got mad at me. Some of them did. For me even suggesting that Auburn is a player in this whole thing. And again, proximity to where he's from, Carrollton, Auburn, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama is much closer. And Auburn is throwing the NIL bag around. Let's just be honest about this, okay? Now, the other day, Juju did tweet out his can't wait video hyping up his visit to USC. Shortly thereafter, he did the same thing for his official visit to Auburn, which is a week later. Oh, and by the way, the Auburn video, it was 9 seconds longer than USC's video. Retro. Anyway, joining Juju for the June 7th weekend bash. Ready? I'm just going to rattle off these names. Linebacker, Riley Pettyjohn. Linebacker, Noah McHale. Wide receiver, Andrew Marsh. Edge, Justin Hill. Wide receiver, Dalen McCutcheon. Safely, Lagonza Hayward. Defensive lineman, Myron Charles. Defensive lineman, Malik Autry. Linebacker, Elijah Mendez, who, by the way, is a commit to Miami. Linebacker, Max Granville. Safety, Bryce Fitzgerald. Offensive tackle, Nick Brooks. Defensive lineman, Kevin Otis. Linebacker, Christian Goss. Wide receiver, Corey Simmons. Cornerback, LaRue Zamorona. He's from Centennial. Excuse me. And finally, defensive lineman, Xavier Ukponu from the state of Texas. I think I saw Carlon Jones tweet something out to Xavier the other day. Something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, you know the move. As you know, Carlon Jones is getting ready to enroll at USC. He would love to have, it sounds like his buddy from Texas, Xavier, come join him. After that first weekend bash, the staff's going to take the next weekend off. Sort of, not really. There are no days off, just work days. Pretty sure USC is going to be hosting one of their camps that weekend. Excuse me. And then a week later, June 21st, weekend bash number 2. As of today, these are the guys coming on the 21st. And again, it's loaded. Coach Henney, Coach Newell, they're going to have they can ruin the state of Georgia and University of Georgia if they want to. You've got defensive lineman Elijah Griffin, defensive lineman Justice Terry committed to USC, edge Jared Smith, cornerback Chuck McDonald, safety Jonte Gilbert, wide receiver Phillip Bell, edge Hayden Lowe, wide receiver Kelston Johnson, offensive tackle Malachi Goodman, or is it Malachi? I apologize. I'm going to get both of those in there. Defensive lineman Trajan Odom, wide receiver Tanuk Hines, defensive lineman Brandon Brown, he's a Texas commit. Interior offensive lineman Henry Fanuku, safety Rylan Dillard Allen, he is a commit to Arizona State. Defensive lineman Gus Cordova, he's a commit to USC. Interior offensive lineman John Mills, he's 6'5", 300 pounds. St. Ignatius Prep in San Francisco. Remember that name. And then scheduled for June 24th by himself, he's a commit to Texas A&M, defensive lineman Landon Rank. That's a lot of top-end talent. Some of them are committed. I kind of mentioned those. Who are the must-gets? Okay, that's next. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to its peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to USC customers. That's US customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? You're constantly hitting the mute button? Well, switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So now you know who is supposed to take their official visits. Again, the visit list is F-word. It's fluid. So if something changes and I hear about it, again, you'll know too. So out of those guys, all those names that I listed for you, which ones are must get for USC? Have to have. Obviously, you want to hold on to the guys you've got committed, keeping those ones happy, keeping them locked on to USC until signing day. Guys like Hilton Stubbs and Tristan Castro from the May visits. USC, hey, check it out. I'm going to start telling you who my must-gets are. So USC got two guys in the 2024 class away from Michigan State. Jaden Walker, Desmond Stevens. Well, remember I mentioned that name, Chase Taylor? He's from the state of Georgia, but again, Michigan wants him. So he's a must-get from the let's set the tone and keep him away from Michigan angle. It's not necessarily a must-get because USC has to have him to make, just to make them a much better team. And he would. He's got the potential to do it. But I'm looking at it from hey, we want to win a recruiting battle against Michigan. Let's go get that guy. Is Jonah Williams a must-get? The safety I was telling you about? USC's got a lot of young depth. But look, if your goal is to win that mythical recruiting championship, then the answer is yes, must get. From the group that arrives from that first weekend back, June 7th, obviously, Juju Lewis goes without saying. Must get, must retain, right? Best case scenario out of that weekend, Juju gets wide receiver Andrew Marsh and wide receiver Dalen McCutcheon to commit. And then Juju comes out publicly. He says, you know what, guys? I appreciate it, but I'm done tripping. I think it'll be interesting to watch how that dynamic plays itself out. How aggressive can Juju be if he's on that weekend recruiting guys to come to USC when he's going to turn around and say, yeah, you know what? Next week, I'll be in Auburn. And then the week after that, heading up to Indiana. Again, something to keep an eye on. You've got rush edge, Justin Hill. You have linebacker Riley Pettyjohn, and you've got linebacker Noah McHale. Now, Justin Hill, one of the top defensive linemen in the country. The challenge for USC. He's from Cincinnati, real close to Ohio State. I think everybody anticipates him joining the Buckeyes. Can Coach Henny, can Coach Nua say, no, you're staying here? Matt Entz, linebacker coach for USC, he could hit a home run if he can get Riley Pettyjohn and Noah McHale. Now, I should let everybody know, if you're listening, watching, the latest intel. Right now, it's got Noah McHale kind of leaning towards Oregon. And, we're keeping it 100. Pettyjohn's from the state of Texas. And Texas right now, they're making it rain NIL. So we'll have to keep an eye on those two guys. But again, USC wants to keep, improving that defensive side of the ball. Those are two must-get guys. And something else to keep, to remember about that whole Noah McHale thing. USC and Madden Faramo, linebacker from Southern California, they seem to be going in different directions right now. So we'll see what happens. You notice I didn't mention his name on any of those official visits. Cornerback LaRue Zamorona, he's from Centennial. And finally, you've got defensive lineman Xavier Ukponu. I love Zamorona's game. 6'2", 6'3", long, rangy, athletic. He kind of reminds me, he looks like a Dory Jackson too. The must-haves from the next group, the June 21st weekend bash. Now, if Coach Henne wants the greatest defensive line class that was ever recruited in the history of the world, then he needs to make sure, number one, that Justice Terry stays committed. And then you got to take Elijah Griffin away from the Peach State. That means you've got Justice Terry, you've got Isaiah Gibson, you've got Gus Cordova. Keep those guys locked in. And then you add Elijah Griffin. And then for good measure, hey, you know what? Cross over state lines into Alabama, go into Hoover, go grab Jared Smith. That's a tough pull. He's on my, I would love to have guy. Same thing with Elijah Griffin. Both are going to be tough pulls. However, you get both of those guys, you get one of those guys, you get all of them, you are pretty much guaranteeing yourself the number one recruiting class in the country. Assuming you get one or you don't get any. You can stay home. You can stay local. You can go get Hayden Lowe, edge from Oaks Christian up there in the Valley, LA surrounding area. He is a local must get. You cannot let him leave the state. Can't let him go to UCLA. USC, you need to make a stand. There's also defensive lineman Trajan Odom from North Carolina. I believe he's originally from Southern California. I saw WeRSC.com Scott Schrader. He's been hitting the recruiting scene. He was out there in North Carolina. He got some film out there of Trajan Odom through one of their spring practices. Dude's got some really big, thick legs, tree trunks. Future studded defensive tackle. So he's in play. And then, Coach Henne, Coach Nua, they've got their choices of a lot of guys. I've been talking about them. Here's somebody I personally like. I'm going to put him on my must-have list. I don't know how hard USC is going after him, but he is coming for an official visit. He's part of the weekend bash. He's listed as an interior offensive lineman. His name's John Mills. He's 6'5". He's 300 pounds. St. Ignatius Prep, San Francisco. I look at him and I see another Andrew Voorhees. I think his future's at tackle. Three guys must get. Cornerback, Chuck McDonald, modern day. Wide receiver, Phillip Bell, Mission Viejo High School. Those are local kids. And Jonte Gilbert, safety. Again, two of those guys are local. McDonald put USC in his Final Four. Ohio State, Oregon, USC. I can't remember the other one. Alabama. And again, I know Coach Belk and Coach Antonlynn, they love Jonte Gilbert a lot. They want him. So there's my must-have list. Who do you have? Who did you put on yours? Okay, I gave you all the names. Go back and listen to them. Who's on your must-get? Who can USC not afford to lose? Have to have them. Tell me. Hit me up in the comments section. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And that with those all-in prices, they're going to show your total upfront. That way you know you're getting a great deal before you even check out. And you can buy your tickets in seconds, literally like 2 taps. And they send the tickets right to your email. You don't have to look for them. Trojans fans, by the way, you better have your tickets for the LSU game in Las Vegas. Better get those tickets. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price, because if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKE, D like David, O, and like Nancy for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. That's probably the perfect segue. So USC found out their game time for another game. USC plays LSU Labor Day weekend in Las Vegas. Like I said, you better get your tickets, Trojan fans. Labor Day weekend, yeah. Corn Dog fans, they're going to be there en masse. They travel. So get your tickets, get your hotel rooms, get it taken care of. Don't get, where am I going to go? Where am I going to stay? Get it taken care of. So when USC is playing LSU, September 1st, that game's 4:30 p.m. kickoff. Okay? Huge game. Now, once that game's over, once USC comes home, they're going to be 1-0. Then they host Utah State. They haven't given a kickoff time yet for that game. Now, their next game, been scheduled, the inaugural Big Ten Conference kickoff game for USC. They play Michigan. The last time these two teams played, Rose Bowl 2007, USC beat them fairly easily, 32-18. This game, September 21st, the Big House, 12:30 p.m. local time, Pacific Standard Time. That's 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And if you can't get out there for the game, you can watch it on CBS, and it's also going to be streaming on Paramount Plus. All right. I love this kickoff. Love this. Perfect. It's the perfect way to see the entire game day atmosphere. You got all day, get there early, and then you get to see a game that's going to start during the day, and it's going to finish under the lights. Excuse me. This is going to be great. I mean, one of my bucket lists is obviously going to Ann Arbor, seeing USC play at Michigan. Every time USC and Michigan play, it's in the Rose Bowl. Now, Michigan's going to get a chance to say, hey, we got you in our house. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I think Michigan's replacing way too much. Yes, great culture, but they're replacing a lot of players. So we'll see. Again, I went over USC's schedule on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC. USC plays 6 home games in 2024. They welcome Wisconsin, Penn State, Rutgers, and Nebraska. Those games in the Coliseum. USC travels. They also play Utah State, and they host Notre Dame. USC will play at Michigan, Minnesota, Maryland, Washington, UCLA. So that's their schedule. Again, I love that kickoff time in Michigan. And I anticipate a lot of those similar type of kickoff times because of where the games are going to be located. And again, you're taking into consideration the teams that are coming to visit USC. It's part of that Midwest culture and a little bit of the East Coast as well. As you don't want to make those guys staying up until 1:30 in the morning to watch a game end. That was one of the drawbacks for those 7:30 p.m. kickoffs. USC fans who are on the East Coast, that meant their kickoff started at 10:30. games weren't ending till close to 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't think you're going to see too many of those, if any of those, anymore. And I'm happy to hear that. 5 o'clock kickoff West Coast time. That means 8 p.m. Eastern. That's probably the latest you'll get. So a lot more likely you're going to get a lot of those 4 o'clock, 4:30 windows, 3 o'clock, 3:30 windows for the West Coast to take into consideration the guys in the Midwest and East. And I'm fine with that. And the older you get, you'll be fine with that as well. So again, wanted to kind of let you know, pack your bags. These are a lot of fun road games. You're going to be going to stadiums that, at least for me, I've never been to. For you, many of you out there, you probably never been to as well. I'm looking forward to, checking out Maryland, Minnesota. Obviously, the Michigan game that we're talking about now. That's what's so cool. What's so new about this whole venture? Yeah, you're losing some tradition. You're losing some of those, the rivalry games with Cal and with Stanford. Maybe one day those can be renewed without a conference game. I've made that suggestion. But all of a sudden now you've got more marquee games. Those games where USC was saying, yeah, we've got Oregon State this weekend. Yeah, we got Washington State. Even USC playing Rutgers, you're saying, all right, well, when was the last time USC played Rutgers? They never have. When was the last time USC played Maryland? Never have. It's the newness of everything. All right, I'm kind of rambling. Wanted to bring that note to you. Get your tickets. Get your airfare taken care of. Book your hotel accommodations. You know where you're playing against LSU. You know where you're playing against Michigan. Now you know what time the games are starting. All right, I'll be back with another episode of Locked on USC tomorrow. That's what we do 5 times a week. When you're done making Locked on USC your first listen every day, don't forget, wearesc.com. Oh, by the way, a lot of recruiting information, a lot of VIP stuff. Spend $1, get 2 months. Check it out. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.